I believe the risk far outweighs the benefits.
Governor Rick Scott takes high-speed rail off the tracks in Florida, rejecting billions of federal dollars for the project. Good evening. I'm Brendan McLaughlin.
And I'm Wendy Ryan. Thanks for joining us. First tonight, calling it too expensive. Governor Rick Scott, the Let's Get to Work governor, derailed the state's high-speed rail plan. And many believed it was a fast-track project for creating jobs in Central Florida. Our Chris Martinez begins our in-depth coverage of the rail debate. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Wendy. You know, from day one, Rick Scott was never high-speed rail's biggest cheerleader. And even though many are calling his decision a train wreck for our state, he says scrapping this project is the smart thing to do.
I'm not comfortable that this is a project that we ought to be doing.
Even with more than $2 billion in federal help, Rick Scott says the high-speed rail plan was just too big of a risk.
I don't see any way that anyone's going to get a return. And so I'm very concerned about the Florida taxpayers.
Scott believes the projected construction costs and ridership levels are too optimistic and thinks money would be better spent on state highway and seaport improvements. But it's what the governor never mentioned today that has some state lawmakers calling his decision tragic.
We have a high unemployment rate in the Tampa Bay area, and this would have had a positive impact.
The rail project would have created jobs, tens of thousands of jobs that lawmakers on both sides of the aisle agree are so badly needed. Florida Senator Bill Nelson says he now has attorneys looking into ways to sidestep the governor's decision and still finance the project.
It's important to us right now because it's 24,000 jobs over the course of the next 5 years.
Scott's decision has even drawn fire from his own party, with many Republicans saying the governor should have waited to hear what private companies were willing to pay to make sure the state would never have to spend a dime.
We wish we were in better times, no question about it. And when we're in better times, I think we all believe high-speed rail has a future in the state of Florida, no question about it.
And I can tell you already, supporters of the rail project are planning to respond to the governor's decision with a rally in Tallahassee that's happening next month. And as for that $2.4 billion in federal funds Florida is passing up, it will likely be redirected to help fund a high-speed rail line over in California. Brendan.
Thank you, Chris. Florida's unemployment rate, one of the highest in the country, which makes Rick Scott's decision a disappointment for a lot of people out of work. Our Carson Chambers is live in Tampa with reaction from some people who had hoped this project might get them and the city back on track. Carson?
Well, good evening, Brendan. We talked to a union rep today. He said that these construction jobs would have been decent paying jobs because of the standard that comes along with a federal project. Hope was rising that the dirt in this empty downtown Tampa lot would grow thousands of jobs. Hope that high-speed rail would spring up here with more than $2 billion in federal funding. But those hopes were crushed today.
He ran on a pretense of being a governor that was going to create jobs. Well, he's just shut down a bunch of jobs.
Bill Devers is president of a building and construction union representing 16,000 workers in the Tampa Bay area. Workers already reeling from Florida's high unemployment rate.
Iron workers, electricians, carpenters, millwrights, boilermakers. And we were counting on these decent wage rates.
Decent wages are what Charles Jenkins is praying for every day. The job hunter can't find anything more than a part-time job and says opportunities have been hard to come by.
Incredibly hard. I mean, I'm out there trying, but it's like you have doors slammed in your face.
And at City Hall, we met with Mayor Pam Iorio, who's disappointed as well, mostly because what was set aside for rail in Florida will likely be given to another state, when Iorio says we needed it so badly here.
The private sector couldn't wait to invest in Florida. They couldn't wait to come in and bid on this project and build it and run it. That's what we want. We talk about shovel-ready jobs. These were shovel-ready jobs.
But those jobs are on hold for now, and Devers says it's a shame. No one will lift a shovel in this lot, at least for high-speed rail.
But it takes us off of the map. This would have put our city back on the map.
And many of the people we spoke with today say if you disagree or maybe you agree with Rick Scott's decision, to let your local or your state representative know how you feel. Live in downtown Tampa, I'm Carson Chambers, ABC Action News.
Thanks, Carson. 4 of Tampa's 5 candidates for mayor blasted the governor today. Some asked him to reconsider what they called an enormously bad decision.
This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to re-energize our economy in both the short term and the long term. I am saddened by the governor's decision.
He did his analysis. He's made his decision. He said no for the citizens of Florida. We will ask him to reconsider that. But ultimately, we have to respect what he has done and what he's decided for us as our governor.
It has a significant impact not only on Tampa, but on the whole central corridor from Tampa to Orlando. We're talking billions of dollars of economic impact.
We need to ask the governor to reconsider what is a galactically bad decision that's not based upon any business fact, and let the private sector bid for this system and say, here's the cost.
Meanwhile, the mayor of Lakeland said he was a little shocked when he heard the governor had pulled the plug on the project. Not only was the rail scheduled to go through Lakeland, but city commissioners had already picked out where the train would stop. Now, Mayor Gal Field says the business and the jobs they were counting on will have to come from somewhere else.
Well, there was a lot of excitement about the anticipation of what jobs could come from this project. But there are going to be other public sector investments that are made, and the private sector will have to adjust to that. I mean, it is certainly a disappointing blow, but we have to keep moving forward.
City commissioners' top choice for the rail stop was at USF Polytechnic's new campus, where I-4 intersects with the Polk Parkway. Reaction to Scott's decision is coming in from across the state and even across the country. State Representative Hazel Rogers, a Democrat, called it misguided. She says, quote, "I'm appalled by Governor Scott's short-sighted thinking and his decision to choose politics and ideology over job creation for Florida. Let's put Floridians to work, Mr. Governor." But U.S. Senator Marco Rubio supports the governor, saying, quote, "Our state and country simply cannot continue spending borrowed money on every new idea that comes along." Rubio went on to thank Scott for encouraging the spending debate.
High-speed rail has been discussed and planned for decades in Florida, but it was just last year that the dream seemed to come true for rail believers.
So it's one of our best investments, but it's expensive.
It was at the University of Tampa in January of last year that President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden announced a new nationwide high-speed rail system that would start in Tampa.
We're going to be taking cars off of congested highways, reducing carbon emissions, and saving billions of dollars.
At the time, they pledged just over $1 billion, a figure that grew to $2.4 billion. But while they made the announcement, members of the Tea Party movement railed against high-speed rail.
Can we fix the infrastructure we already have before adding this tremendous expense?
A month earlier, then Governor Charlie Crist came to Tampa announcing the state's support of the high-speed rail project.
More jobs for the people of our state, more opportunities for their families to have a better income. That's what this is all about.
The Florida House and Senate had both thrown their support behind the rail project during a 6-week special session.
A train to nowhere!
But again, not everybody thought the train was the solution to Florida's problems.
We're not going to get out of our cars to ride in buses or trains. Every one of these people know that.
And the debate over high-speed rail continues today on our Facebook page.
That's right. Bruce writes, "The tax I hate is sitting in traffic and burning up gas and sweating in a hot car." And Cassandra asks, wait, wasn't his tagline, "Let's get to work"? Was high-speed rail going to build itself?
Lisa wrote, "Good. The rail is not needed anyhow." Dave adds, "This train will not solve any of the mass transit problems in any metropolitan area in Florida. The beneficiaries, as I see it, the airports in Orlando and Tampa and the Disney folks."
Our coverage of the high-speed rail debate continues on our website. Just head to abcactionnews.com. And there you can sign up for our Facebook page and vote in our web poll. We asked, would you have used a proposed high-speed train line between Tampa and Orlando? Let us know what you think.